Welcome back to the Shadow Business Podcast. And I have such an amazing guest. I'm so excited to hear his story. And yes, you've heard this very well. His story. It is actually the first man on this podcast ever in its 4 year existence. Can you imagine? And it's perfect because his name is already also speaking for itself. So, Oliver is a journaling teacher and mentor and working with his own shadow journaling methodology. I'm very curious to that, so we will hear more about that. And this is to help self acceptance, empathy, and self esteem. Welcome to the show, Oliver Mann.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very excited to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. And we've sent out. I've sent out the application form. I think 2 months ago. You filled it out, and I just loved your application and specifically also what you spoke about in your about your shadows, how you've overcome them, and your methodology. And I feel like maybe we should actually kind of start there. Maybe you speak about your shadows, your shadow being actually wanting to be seen, and you have there was maybe you could talk about the realization that you actually wanted to be seen and kind of accepting that. And yeah, what was there one moment? Were it multiple moments? Could you talk about that? We're just going to dive in immediately, right? That's the style here. Yeah, that's no live left. Let's just go. Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there, and I think that's the amount of unpacking is one of the big problems around the way that we deal with personal development, development. I think
Okay, let me know why.
there's basically there's our experience of life is a sense of just a global experience, and everything keeps happening and changing. But
Yeah.
when we want to work on something, we have to do it from a linear perspective. We have to do it in sequence. And that's
Yes.
part of the major problem because our way of dealing with it doesn't match the way that we experience life.
Y- Yeah.
And one of the major things that kind of changed my life was realizing the methodology that I'm doing now. And just to give a very, very brief overview of it,
Mm.
I kind of got inspired by Carl Jung and psychological alchemy and the sense that we've got these different phases that we go through and change.
Yeah.
And without going into depth of Jung's methodology here, but the point is, I kind of applied this to journaling. And through this realization, I kind of came to understand that a lot of the personal development work that we've been doing goes so much focus on self-awareness, which to me is in many ways the first stage of
Yes.
personal
Oh,
growth.
I love that you say this. And I'm also, of course, shadow work with Jung a lot. So yeah, okay, continue. Let's go. Yeah.
Because I think like the trap of personal development is we get caught in self-awareness and we think
Yes.
we've done the work. But
Yes.
for me, that is just a confrontation with who we are and this
Yeah.
realization that I am more than what I thought I was. And I start realizing. And then what happens is we start creating an identity of what we
Yes.
might label as flaws because we start realizing, oh, I self sabotage or I've got imposter syndrome or whatever it might be. And we create these labels for ourselves. And in many ways, we use them as an excuse unconsciously as a way to not keep going because we go, well, I've figured it out now. And we get a dopamine rush from that realization like, oh, I've labeled myself, I've
Yeah.
self diagnosed. And then we create, as humans, we're meaning machines, right? We create
Yeah.
meaning out of everything. So we go, oh, yeah, because my uncle said this or my grandfather said that, whatever, that means I am this.
Yeah.
We get a dopamine rush because we go, like, oh, this makes sense. Suddenly I understand who I am. But what we've done is we've become just another layer of identity. And for me, that's the reveal stage. That's where we start getting to the point where we say, this is what's going on. But the next stage is where it's really critical, and that's the self-acceptance part, which is taking ownership, which to me is like the reclaim, and you reclaim who you are.
Yeah.
And the key
As
part
you
here
are
is
fully as well, including the bad parts, not just the good.
absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely. I think the self-acceptance part is the most complicated
it is.
stage here because
Yeah.
it means having to say that this shit that I'm in, I got myself here.
Yeah.
And there are parts of who I am that I don't like.
Yeah.
And self-acceptance does not equal that you say that it's okay. It just
No.
means that I acknowledge its existence and I accept that this is a part of myself.
Yeah.
But now I'm willing to change it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you cannot change something that you don't own. If you're just aware of it, it's like seeing that there's a problem there, and then you
It's
see
something
it
outside of
partly.
you. You look at it, right, from a helicopter view. Oh, that's just who I am. You're not taking that ownership, actually. Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time there's a secret desire that somebody else will come and fix it for you,
Yeah, that's so true. Yes, I
right?
think many people, or yeah, people who say, oh, you're doing well or not doing well. And then you kind of, for instance, with the visibility piece, you want people to say, oh, you're doing amazing, sweetie, right? But actually, why do you need that?
Yeah, and I think this is like, so for me, going back to what you were talking about in the application, this is like a moment where the realization was kind of very clear for me relatively recently, and
Yeah,
was this sense of fighting myself around this idea that, I want to be seen, but I want to hide because
yeah,
I'm insecure and there's imposter syndrome, and that awareness around imposter syndrome. But what I wasn't willing to accept that there was this part of me that really desperately also wants to be seen. So because those two didn't match, and this is the
no,
issue
they
with the
don't.
paradoxes, right? So there's a part, the insecure part of me was winning, and that was like my identity. I'm an
Yeah,
imposter, and if people see me, they'll find out that I'm messed up, I'm broken. But then there was this other side of me that was going like, but I just want to be seen because I think I have something to share. I know that my life experience has value, and I know that I got deep empathy for people, and when I can put myself out there, that can potentially help. So there was this desire to kind of do that, but I was rejecting it because the winning framing for me was no, 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 I am broken. And if people see me, I'll be
yeah.
rejected by society.
Would you say that was the easy road?
Oh, for sure. No, no,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's the easy road is always to hide, right? Like this, it's so much
yeah.
easier to
Well,
just
yeah,
stay invisible.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And then once I accepted the fact that this part of me is there, I had to take ownership of that. And it meant that I have to look back at those moments when I secretly wanted to be seen and I was disappointed that I wasn't, was
yeah.
actually like a part of who I am. And sometimes you get these kind of, remember the film The Sixth Sense? When
Yes.
suddenly at the end you go like, oh my God, you look at
Yeah.
your life from a different lens. You're like, shit, that's what I was doing there. This is what I was doing at this point. And I had this realization that shit, I'm secretly extrovert, but I want to portray myself as introvert because it's safer.
Yeah.
And then I realized I actually thrive on this.
I
Like,
think also many people think that there is more pizzazz to someone who is introvert, right? Oh, they keep to themselves. They are, they are more, they're better, or they don't feel the need to express themselves, to be loud and any, right? So
I
there's
mean, we've got
this
these
idea.
metaphors around it. Like in
Yeah.
English,
Yeah.
like this expression, like still water has deep water. Sorry,
Yes.
still water is deep, right? So this sense that
Yes. Yeah.
if you're loud, it means you're shallow. If
Oh,
you're
that's
being
so
seen, it means you've got nothing to
interesting.
show. So definitely, I think this is plays
Yeah.
into it. And then the problem with this, it becomes identity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a fascinating thing around identity is that we often treat identity as a fixed concept. And then we
Yeah.
think about actions as something that we change.
Yeah.
So I change my behavior. I start going to the gym more often. I improve my
Yeah.
diet. I'm
Yeah.
going to yoga twice a week or whatever the idea might be. And then we forget that those actions are what creates our identity. So
Again.
we've got another thing. A lot of the work that I do is dealing with the incongruencies that we have. The fact
Yeah.
that we say one thing about ourselves and we might do something else, right?
Yeah.
So these paradoxes are key to shadow work. I
Yeah.
think
They
this is
are.
the absolute the essence of it.
Yeah.
And this is an ongoing thing, right? So
Yeah.
we're talking now about this idea of wanting to be seen and wanting to hide. And for me, that manifested itself very, very practically in the sense that I was doing a journaling festival. And the
This is so interesting. Also, a journaling festival. I would like to hear more about that.
oh,
But
oh
let's
yeah,
let's speak about the breakthrough first because I was looking at your
it's very
website. I was thinking,
connected.
what are you doing? Yes. Okay. All right. Please tell me.
So there was an opening at the festival for doing a 20-minute talk, and I've been resisting this whole idea. But then there was this moment where somehow I just put myself into it. I said, well, I can do it. And
Yeah.
then I
Well,
was
of
stuck.
course.
right? Then I was suddenly there was like the part of me that was wanted to be seen, that I'd finally started accepting, was going like, yes, come on, let's go, this is going to be super exciting. Then the other part of me was going like, fuck this
Yeah.
is absolutely awful, what have I done?
You're
This is the
crazy.
worst
Yeah.
idea in the world.
Yeah.
So I spent the next months
But this
stressing
was
out.
last year.
This is last year,
Just
yeah,
last year. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
and in
Yes.
the end, I did it, and I came out of it like feeling amazingly relieved, much
Yeah.
more comfortable with it. But the key thing for me here was the part that you can journal and you can become self-aware and you can start having acceptance, but unless it translates into behavioral change, it doesn't actually have real meaning,
Yep.
because the actions that we take are what defines what we do. And I think this is one of those moments where it was just a fundamental shift for me, that I was on stage. I was absolutely terrified.
How
But
was
at the
it?
same time, there was this realization that it's okay that I'm terrified, right? This is part of that process.
Yeah.
And the discomfort
Yeah.
is what stops people from taking ownership,
Yep.
because discomfort is real
Yeah.
and there's no shortcut.
No. No, you have to experience it. It's there. You're being confronted with it. It's there. You can't go back. You're on the stage. You can't say, "Oh, bye, bye, I'm going away now." No, no, no. You committed to it. And that's it. It's a commitment to yourself also.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was a major moment. And I have these now, right? Like I had realizations around my own money mindset
Yeah.
this weekend, right? This is a Tuesday, and this weekend I
Yeah.
was sitting on this, and I was just realizing that, there's one part of me that goes, right, I want to make tons of money and I'll be super happy and generous with everything that I've got. But then there was also a realization that the part of me that's fighting it is incredibly comfortable
Yeah.
being poor,
Yeah.
because it justifies my latent victimhood.
Yeah.
And I can justify that, well, I don't
Yeah.
really deserve it, all this kind of shit. And then this realization, I have to accept that this part of me also exists
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
allow it space,
Yeah.
so I can say, don't worry,
Yeah.
everything's going to be okay,
Yeah.
even if we change the way that we are. Right?
It's so what I find so magical about your story so far, but also about shadow work in general, is that you can really kind of rewire your brain and kind of but not just rewire your brain, but also your life. And there are so many people against the idea of that how do you say that, kind of that you can create life in the way that we call it a makeable society in Dutch. I'm sorry, I can't find the word right now in English, but kind of that everything can be produced in a way, that it's a perfect world. But that's also a shadow of the society saying, yeah, but actually you probably can. Yes, of course. If you're terminally ill, it's going to be very difficult. If you're in the middle of the war, yes, of course, there's exceptions. But there's a lot of people who can actually change their lives by doing this, but they're using that as an excuse, right?
I think one of the issues around what you're talking about there is the fact that we sit with this paradox, that we
Yeah.
have an awareness that it's possible, but then we have a part of ourselves that doesn't believe it's possible.
Yes, that's it. So
Right?
knowing and believing are two completely
Yeah,
different things.
yeah, exactly. And I think for me, the self acceptance part is being willing to say that there's a part of me that doesn't want it.
Yeah.
And what's really important in this, and I think this is really, it goes against this whole concept around, manifesting and affirmations and all these kind of
Yeah.
thing, where we're kind of told that if you say it, it becomes true.
Yeah.
So we're not willing to accept our darkness, because we think if I accept it, it
Yeah.
becomes real.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think is
Yeah.
incredibly important to look at, especially
Yeah.
for people who are in the personal development world, that we've got this fear of saying, if I say to myself, I don't want to be rich, then we think that that means we won't be able to be rich, if we're using
Yeah.
that kind of a metaphor. But the reality is the opposite, because
Yeah.
we need to deal with the foundational conflict that we have, and be first willing to say, you know what, there's a part of me that is scared of changing who I am,
Yeah.
and my identity is locked into this. So
Yeah.
if I accept that that's a part of me, then I'm locked into that even more.
Yeah.
But the reality is that once we do that, we can accept that it's there. We
Yeah.
have an opportunity to change it. But if we don't look at it, it's still there fighting in the shadows and holding us back. And I
Yeah.
think this is like the essence of change for me.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's so funny because I spoke about this also, I don't remember when, but anyway, I think also on the podcast, but it was about actually also manifesting or changing your identity means that you don't like, so to say, your current identity. And actually admitting that
Yeah.
is impossible for most.
Yeah, yeah,
And also
absolutely.
for me, it was also for me, obviously, because how do you get into this world? Of course, because you also have a lot of shadows, right? You don't do this if you're fully, yeah, no problem. That's, yeah.
I mean, my attitude to this is that if you're not walking around the world like you're the Buddha, then you do have shadow problems, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like this is the
yeah,
essence of it.
yeah.
But I think, but you're right. This whole idea of identity is really really heavy, and I think a reason why it's heavy is because in order to move past it, a part of you has to die, and I mean that in the
Yes,
kindest
yes,
sense. But
yes,
there's, if we want to use the concept like ego death, I don't believe in the concept of ego death. The ego is actually something that's very healthy and useful to
yes,
have when it's when it has the tools at hand,
yeah,
right? So the ego doesn't want you to do shadow work because it's built a house of cards of an identity.
mm,
And if you start shaking that foundation, then the house of cards will come down. But the irony is that once you do come to terms with more of your shadow, what happens is that the ego can build not a house of cards, but a house of bricks,
exactly.
which is
It's much
actually
stronger.
stable and has
Yeah,
has the capacity to withstand
yeah,
all the stuff that's coming at you from the
yeah,
outside.
yeah. No, I
So I think,
agree. I
yeah.
agree. And we talk about ego like it's bad, but actually, if you're making your ego stronger, you can really become kind of a superhuman, so to say.
But I think the key is to make it healthier, right?
Yeah,
Because it
yeah.
is
That's it.
damned
Yes.
strong.
It is. It is. And it's always there. But the thing is, okay, so maybe not ego death, but then identity death. And you actually have to also grieve that past version of
Yep.
you, right? So, and this is also what I do with my clients. Okay, so you're not this person anymore. Now it's going to be something else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
this is like like a healthy ego is going to support you in that next phase,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like it's
Beautiful.
something
Yeah.
there that's going to be like when the ego has new tools to work with
Yeah.
and a capacity to have a much wider range of a world to enter into and is less defensive and less scared.
Yeah.
Like you said, that is a superpower,
It
right?
is.
That
It is.
yeah.
It almost feels like it's as
Yeah,
close
yeah,
as we can
absolutely.
get.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, it's so interesting. So for me, so shadows are sort of the bad parts that you hide in your subconscious. So obviously, most of the time, people don't know their shadows because they have to get to it through subconscious work. And I personally, as a shadow business coach, I do this work with hypnosis, but I feel like you're doing this with journaling. But maybe you're also using hypnosis. I don't know. But how do you get to those shadows or bad parts, however you want to call them, through journaling? Can you give us a little, taste of what that's like, or how do you work?
So journaling for me is just a way to somehow document the change that we're making. Is a
Yeah,
way to slow down our brain, and a very important aspect of it is a way to externalize the story that we're telling ourselves. So it means that instead of going feeling like I am all these things and all that kind of noise that happens, which is connected to ego identity, we externalize it and we actually say,
yeah,
well, this isn't me because it's on paper, which is a major part of the tool because it creates a distance between the
yeah,
story that we're telling ourselves and what is kind of the definition of it on the outside, right?
yeah,
But when it comes down to the exploration of shadow, one of the most basic ways is to look at how do we see the world, because the world is a mirror
yeah,
to our shadows.
yeah,
So it means, for example, looking at the people that we dislike, the people that trigger us, the people
yeah,
that piss us off in our lives, and just as importantly, the people that we admire, the
yeah,
people that we secretly look at, or not even secretly, we just actually look at, put them on a pedestal,
yeah,
and go, what is it about these people, the people that I really dislike and the people that I admire? What are the traits that they are carrying? What is it that I see in them? And then we use that as a framing to go, where does this exist in me?
yeah,
So if it's somebody who is an arrogant asshole, what is it about that I don't like? Is it because I'm arrogant myself sometimes, but I don't want to admit it? Or is it because I'm jealous that they are able to look after themselves before they look after everybody else? So they're not people pleasing. And I'm going like, shit, I wish I was. And in good people, is it something that we go, I wish I was that brave, or I wish I was that beautiful, or
Yeah.
whatever it is? And then we can start looking at that and go, where is my insecurity in this?
Yeah.
Where is there something that I haven't allowed to breathe? But the real kind of the kicker for me is this idea of using curiosity. So
Mm.
curiosity is absolutely fundamental in the first stage, because otherwise we take the first answer as true.
Yeah.
And the problem is that we've spent our lives becoming self-aware, and we rehearse answers. So
Yeah.
the answer we give ourselves the first time is, oh, that's because of that. And
Yeah.
then the ego is satisfied because it's given you a little kind of like a crumb of awareness.
Yeah.
But our job is to go, do you know what? Give me more.
Yeah.
What else? What else?
Exactly.
What else? And
Yes.
keep going beyond the first five answers
Yeah.
and see what's really, really behind
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's where we get into that core where we can say, am I willing to accept that
Yeah.
this is a part of me? Am I willing to accept that
Mm.
actually I want to be seen? And that's why I'm jealous of the people on stage, or that's why I admire the way they
Was
speak.
that the feeling that what was your feeling before you decided what you had? Were you admiring or were you jealous?
I
Or
think
both?
I was probably more jealous,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
honest with you. I was
Yeah.
probably much more jealous of them and
Yeah.
their capacity to just stand on stage and be comfortable and
Yeah.
just soak up the applause and whatever. And I was like, bastards.
Yeah.
And
Well,
and I think this is the key here to that willingness to say, I want that, but
yeah.
I've been scared to say
Yeah.
that I want it.
Yeah.
Because the scared part is, if I want it, I have to make steps in order
Yeah.
to make it happen.
You have to do the work.
You have to do the work.
Yeah.
And for me, what happens, and this is really, really important thing for anybody who wants to go into this, I think there's a fundamental change in how it feels, in the difference between what is a real deep realization versus when the ego gives you little crumbs to make you feel like you're on the way to growth, but it's
Yeah.
actually keeping you in stasis. And to me, that is the dopamine rush
Yeah.
that you get from creating meaning. And you're like, wow, I understand myself. And then you get this sense of like, oh,
Yeah.
this is like the ontological thrill. You suddenly create meaning. Like my grandfather said, that's why I'm like this. And now I know.
Yeah.
But when you go into the moment of acceptance and really fundamentally say, do you know what? This exists as a part of me and I have to face it and I have to accept it. The feeling isn't a dopamine rush. It's
No.
relief.
Y-
It's
y-
suddenly is a weight off your shoulders,
Yes.
because then your
But you have
body just goes, I don't have to fight this anymore. I can just go like,
yeah, but before you get that feeling of relief, you have to it is uncomfortable.
absolutely,
Yeah. and
absolutely.
and, and that discomfort, that's where most people are afraid of. And I still see it. I work with people who want to do this work, obviously, but still they're like, why is this, why is this like this? Why is this so hard? Yeah, that's exactly what the shadow is. That's the information. That's all the information you need. Okay, if it's hard, it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of the problem is, I'm sure we both work with people like this, where self-awareness is super high.
Yeah, no, I'm not interested. Actually, I'm not interested in self-awareness anymore. If somebody is saying, yeah, I have this, I'm like, okay, whatever. Let's just do a hypnosis and we'll find out.
Yeah, but this is the
That's
thing, isn't it? Because self-awareness creates an extra level of overthinking.
yeah, it's better
Suddenly,
if somebody doesn't know. Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm working with one guy now, which is really, really interesting, because there's a sense that his self-awareness is the identity that blocks him from moving forwards,
Yeah, okay.
because
Wow. That's meta.
he's identified himself as
Yeah.
somebody who is willing to do the work,
Yeah.
and that becomes the program that
Oof.
runs it.
That's
And
funny.
then
Yeah.
everything else kind of like gets blocked, because he's like, no, I'm doing
Yeah.
the work, I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
And that manifests itself as like, but I'm doing the work, but
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
stuck. And
Yeah.
that's the identity,
Yeah.
right? So for
Beautiful.
me, that work has to be about saying, I am willing to accept that there's a part of me that doesn't want to do the work, because it's safer to call
Yeah.
myself a person who does the
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
without doing it.
Good. Well, this person is in good hands then. I'm happy. So we're going to round off the conversation, but not before I have heard some of about the journaling festival. And how did because you're the founder, is that right?
I'm one of the co-founders. Yeah, there's
Yes.
two of us that made it.
And so how did you, I mean, I can imagine you talking about this, but what does it look like? How does it work? Because I was thinking, okay, if are people just sitting in a room journaling? I mean, that's going to, of course it's not, but that's, my first impression. And then how did you get this idea, both of you? And then what does it actually look like? Can you bring us in the world of the festival, please?
So the seed of it was actually from my partner on this, talking about like wanted to create something for journaling facilitators and mentors and turn it into like a more like a professional event. But then it just kind of grew from that. And one of the key things that we realized in this, and we didn't know that we were doing it from the beginning, but what happened was it turned out to be a community event
Yeah,
because
of course.
journaling is such an introspective and
Yeah,
insular
it
experience.
is.
And a lot of people who journal don't talk to their friends or family about it because it's such a private thing.
Yeah,
And then when people flew in, and we had people flying in from the US, from Egypt, from Iceland, from lots of people from Holland, actually.
yeah,
And they suddenly connected and realized that I don't have to pretend anything around what I'm doing. I can shortcut all this conversation where nobody goes, "Oh, you journaling? What does that mean? Is that like Dear Diary? Do you have a little log?"
yeah,
All this kind of bullshit. And people just going straight into really deep,
of course.
healthy conversations with each other.
Yeah.
And the essence of the festival is really to bring together people so that we can connect around this. But also we run lots of workshops. So we did it in November last year, and we had, I think, close to 25 speakers, about
Beautiful.
150, 170 people all together there.
Wow.
And it
Huge.
was absolutely fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
like so many workshops and really intense program, because we realized if we're having people flying in from all over the world to this, we can't leave them shortchanged. So
No.
we have like a program that runs from 10 o'clock in the morning through to like 8, 9 o'clock in the evening.
Wow.
It's like there's
It's a
it's
1 day
just
event
full on.
or multiple
two
days?
days, two
Yes.
days. So
Yes.
in this year, in November again, 7th and 8th of November, and
Exciting.
it's really like it's an epic event. It's
Yeah.
incredibly intense. Like people
Yeah,
come
of
out of
course.
it mentally exhausted, but
Yeah.
also absolutely exhilarated
Yeah.
because they meet people who are teaching them new ways of journaling, other ways in,
Yeah.
and mixing things. We had somebody who was doing journaling and hypnosis, somebody was doing journaling and yoga, doing like all kinds of combinations.
Yeah.
I was holding my workshop there on shadow journaling,
Yeah.
and then also keynote speakers that came in to just really give um deep practical tools. I
Yeah.
think this is the key thing for us, that we wanted to call it a festival and not a conference.
Yeah.
So it's
That's yeah.
hands-on. It's a celebration of writing,
Yeah.
not right. You're not going to sit down and listen to somebody for 90 minutes and not write. It's like this
Yeah.
is we're doing the work.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, it sounds very interesting. And I think, it is a very solitary experience. And I can imagine that all the attendees there are immediately just dive into it, right? And not, not doing any chit chat like we do did at the
Yeah,
beginning of this
absolutely.
podcast. It's just, you found your people and then, yeah, it's just so easy. Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. Okay. I will put the link of the festival in the show notes because people can already buy tickets, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I will put it there if people would love that. So, Oliver, thank you so much for being here. It
Thank you
was
for inviting.
really incredible speaking to you, and I've learned a lot actually, and also with actually asking those, the Socrates questions, right? Kind of asked 7 times why, right? Why is this? Why is this that? Uh, I was a journaler actually, personally before, but I kind of stopped doing it. But right now I'm thinking, I might bring it back because it might solidify more of my thoughts because right now they might be floating. So yeah, yeah. So thank you for that as well, personally.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to hear it. Always want more
Yes,
people to journal.
Yes, yeah, that's of course what you desire. But thank you so much for speaking about this and for giving me and us new insights, and also to the listener. Thank you so much for listening to the Shadow Business Podcast. This was our final guest, actually, on the guest section, which airs every Tuesday. And I think I am going to continue doing these guest podcast sessions. And I think actually that I will put the application form right here in the show notes if you want to join. So, our regular episode is coming back on Thursday. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to rate this show and also to follow Oliver and get those tickets to the journaling festival. All right. Have a happy day and see you soon. Bye.